Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf for IT Visualizer channel. Today we'll continue our lab, the Red Alert lab. This is the video number 3. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. We have our Windows Server virtual machine. So we have promoted it to be a domain controller, and then we began creating another virtual machine and install Windows 10 LTSC 2019 Enterprise version 1709 on it. So this will be our workstation that we will use to connect remotely to the domain controller, which contains Windows Server Data Center Core operating system, which doesn't have any graphical interface. So through this workstation that has Windows 10 installed on it, we will use it to connect remotely to the domain controller and manage it. Okay, manage it because there is no graphical interface. Okay, and this machine will join the domain. So we have our server promoted to be a domain controller, and it has a operating system that doesn't have any graphical interface, so we can't manage it through graphics unless or we cannot manage it with graphical interface. We need only to manage it through command prompt or through commands. Okay, so to be able to manage it through a graphical interface, we will create a virtual machine, and this will be a workstation, and we will join it to the domain and install a couple of tools on it so we can connect remotely to the domain controller and manage it. Okay, so we have this workstation. We will name it Privilege Access Workstation. Okay, why we name it Privilege Access Workstation? Because it should have certain configuration, so we will secure it to the maximum, so we can connect to our domain controller securely. So this will have certain or special configuration should be done to this virtual machine or this workstation. So we have Windows 10 LTSC installed on it, and we have said why we use this kind of operating system. It has a lot of advantages, so please refer to my previous videos to know. And we have a special configuration to be done to this POW to secure it to access Windows Core, the Windows Operating System Core, or Windows Server 2019 Data Center Core, which is the operating system of our domain controller. So we have done a special configuration. One of these configurations actually is not to give this workstation access to the internet, so it will only be used internally to access the domain controller remotely. Okay, and then we have installed a couple of graphical interface tools on this workstation or POW, which is Windows Admin Center, Remote Server Access Tools, and the Server Manager. So through these three tools we were able to access our domain controller remotely and manage it. Okay, and we have explored the different options and configurations for the three tools. So we have discussed the different features and options of Windows Admin Center, which is a very good tool to manage the server remotely, and we used the remote access server tools, the normal tools that we currently or we mostly use, something like Active Directory users and computers, DHCP console, DNS console. Okay, this is we normally use it. Okay, but the Admin Center, it's a little bit of a new type of tools, so we have discovered it and explored the different option in it. And then the last one is the Server Manager. We all know the Server Manager. We can go to the Server Manager and add our Server Core Manager or domain controller to the Server Manager and manage it through the Server Manager. We have discussed this also. So all of this we have discussed in the previous video. In this video we will discuss how we can add I have my domain controller. I need to add another hard disk, and I need to partition it and create volumes on it remotely. So we will do this using the Windows Admin Center and the Computer Management Console. We will see how we can do this, and then we will use the Windows Admin Center to connect remotely to the domain controller and open a PowerShell session to this domain controller and begin applying certain scripts and commands to create different Active Directory objects, objects like users, computers, and so we will use scripts to create a bulk of users and groups, and put these groups put these users in these groups. So let's see how we can do this using the Windows Admin Center. So let's begin. Here we can see that this is the beginning. We will go and open the VM Workstation Pro and add another hard disk. So we'll go to the virtual machine setting. So we call edit virtual machine setting, okay, and then we will go and add another hard disk. So here we'll press on add and then add another hard disk. It will be NVMe type, and then we will create a new virtual disk. We will give it a 20 gigabyte. It's only a test, okay, and we will split it to multiple files to be easier for managing and to be to have a best performance for this virtual hard disk. So now I am adding this virtual hard disk to my virtual machine folder, okay, rack 01. So all of the hard disks should be in one place, the folder of the virtual machine. So now I have added it. So we have 150 gigabytes and we have 20 gigabyte. Now we will just arrange our snapshots. So I will delete the old one or the old snapshots that I don't need. So I have deleted this snapshot. So this is something to be done regularly. If you have a virtual environment, you need to take regular backups or regular snapshots of the virtual machines, and to archive or to always clean up these snapshots regularly, the old ones, and create to delete the old snapshots and create new ones. So now I have deleting the snapshot. It will take a little bit of time, and then we will open our POW, and we will see in the upcoming videos how we will secure this workstation more and more. So it will be completely secure to access our domain controller, okay. So now we will open the POW, but before that we will clear a couple of snapshots. I think I don't need, or I don't have a lot of snapshots on this machine. So we will open the domain controller. We all notice that the booting time of the Windows Server Core is less than the normal Windows Server 2019 boot time, okay. So this is one of the advantages of using Windows Core, because it doesn't contain a lot of graphical interfaces or a lot of graphics. So this increases or improve the performance of the boot time, or the time for the boot to be less, okay. So now we have logged in to the machine using the administrator account, or domain controller using the administrator account. We will disable it later and use another account as we have discussed earlier. So who am I gives me the name of the user currently logged in. Now we will take a snapshot before creating our organizational units, or creating the different organizational units in the Active Directory. Not only organizational units, of course, we will create users and groups. So this is a backup or a snapshot before creating Active Directory objects. Okay, so we can see it's saving state. This is the state of the snapshot. After it finishes, it will give you 100%. So now we will pause the video, or we can wait. It will not take a lot of time. One 91%, 93, 94, 95, 96, 100%. So now we have taken a snapshot. This is a good thing before making any fatal change or any major change in your system. Okay, so this is a good thing to do in your IT environment, to take regular backups before making any changes to any operating system. These changes could include updates, database change, database backup, database change passwords, any major change that will affect the operating system. So now we have the POW initialized, okay, and powered on. So now we need through the POW, okay, to access the domain controller and partition the newly inserted hard disk, okay, and make volume E on it, okay. And after creating volume E, because we have C is the operating system partition, D is the CD-ROM, and E will be the new partition, okay, or the new volume. And we need to change this volume from E to D, so we will switch, we will take the drive letter D of the DVD-ROM and give it to the partition E, so E will be D and D will be E. Why we do this? Just I need it to be arranged in order, so I don't need the CD-ROM to have the D letter. I will show you also how this can be done, but this is something to have your drive letters organized, okay. So you have your C, then the second partition should be D, and the CD-ROM should be E or F or G, okay. This is the normal sequence of letters, okay. Anyway, I think it's paused, maybe. No, yes, it's paused. So now we will ping, I'm just pinging any website outside to make sure that I have access to the internet. So we have access to the internet from our server, and as a best practice we will disable completely the internet from this server. But there is one catch: this server considered to be the time server, so all of the time on any machine in the workstation, okay, will sync the time with the domain controller. So if you have a workstation that have time on it, it will sync its time or will take its time from the domain controller, okay, and the domain controller take its time from outside or from the internet, okay, something like Microsoft websites or external time servers, okay. So we need to take care, if we will disable this server to access the internet, we need to make sure that the time of the domain controller should be accurate and should be synced with another source. So it was taking its time from an external time server on the internet. So when we disable the internet, it will not take or will not sync its time with an external time server. So this could be done by having another server internally. Let's consider the WSOS. It will get updates of Microsoft from the internet, so we will make the domain controller take its time or sync its time with the WSOS, okay. So it will take its time from the WSOS server, and the WSOS server will take its time from an external internet or external time server, which will be any server we define. So the WSOS will be the server that will communicate with the external time server and take its time and save it internally, and then the domain controller will sync its time with the WSOS, okay. This should be done using a group policy. We will discuss it later in the videos in this series, but take care that when you disable internet on the server or the domain controller, you need to make sure that the time server, the domain controller, is syncing with, okay, it's not it will be cut. So you need to make sure that there is another time server the domain controller will sync its time with, okay. We'll discuss it later, don't worry. So let's continue. Now we will IP config. Let's see here the configuration of our server. Here we can see something here. Here we can see that the DNS server, it is 127.0.0.1, okay. This is equivalent, this number is equivalent to 192.168.1.8. so this number will be as a shortcut or will refer to this IP address, okay. So because I will have another domain controller, so I need to change this number to be 192.168.1.8, okay. Because I will have another one which will be 192.168.1.9, this will be the second domain controller, okay. you can leave it as it is. It will not it will do the same function. So if you put 127.0.0.1, it is the same as putting 192.168.1.8. so the DNS server, it is the IP of the domain controller, because we have configured the domain controller, or configured this to be a domain controller and the DNS server at the same time. So 127.0.0.1 will be the same as typing 192.168.1.8. remember, before promoting this server to be a domain controller, I have put in the DNS servers field 192.168.1.8, but it was changed. Okay, so I will change it. I can leave it as it is, but because I will have another server, so I need not to make any conflicts, or not to put myself in some dilemma. Okay, I need to have everything in order, so I need to know that this is the IP of the DNS server, because I will put another one. So you can leave it as it is. Anyway, we will type sconfig. So we'll type sconfig and then change the DNS server from 127.0.0.1 to 192.168.1.8. So now we will take 8, or we'll type 8 and then press 3 to select the network adapter, and then we will change DNS server, so we'll select 2. Okay, and then we will put 192.168.1.8. okay, and then press enter, and then we don't have any alternative DNS, so this field will be filled later when we create our third domain or second domain controller. 4 to change or to return to the main menu, and then 15 to exit the command line or to exit the menu. So in type ifconfig/all, you can see that the DNS server, it is changed, okay, to reflect the IP of the server. Okay, now we will ping. We'll see if we can get to the internet, just to make sure the DNS is not affected, or the change that we have done doesn't affect our access to the internet. So now we have access to internet. Then we need to go to configure the newly added hard disk to this server, okay, through the Windows Admin Center from the POW workstation. Okay, so now we will access the POW with the administrator or the domain admin account. So basically we will do any configuration on any Windows core. So we'll have this domain controller, we have Windows core installed on it, and the second domain controller will have Windows core installed on it. Every configuration on these two servers will be done from the POW using the graphical interface tools that we have installed. I mean the Windows Admin Center, the Server Manager, and the Server Manager, and the RAS tool or RAS tools. So now we are taking a backup of this machine, okay, before creating the organizational units in the Active Directory or the different Active Directory objects. Okay, so now we can open our custom console. I will show you all the first way to partition and make volumes on the newly added hard disk on the server. We can do this from the computer management console. So we'll see this is the first way, and there is the second way to use the Windows Admin Center. Okay, so we will see both ways. So you have two ways. Now we can tell him add snap-in and then we will add something called computer management console, and this console will connect to the server here, okay, RACC01, and the disk management console will connect to this server here. So let's see here, I'm telling him to connect to the server RACC01. So this disk management will manage the hard disk on this server. Okay, so we are telling him to connect as a disk management console tool to the server or the domain controller, and also the computer management, we will tell it to connect remotely to this server. Okay, so we'll see after doing this that we can manage the hard disks from these tools. Okay, so this is an alternative way instead of using the Windows Admin Center. Okay, so any one of these consoles can be used to access anything on this server, but you need to specify to the console which computer that you will connect to, okay, to manage. Okay, so here we can see that disk management, first of all we can see here that will give us an error, RPC error. So this could be something of the firewall, so I will disable it later to see if it is the problem, and then we will open the computer management console. We will see also here, so I will disable the firewall to make sure that this is not a problem. And then we will access the computer management. We will see that I will succeed in accessing the hard disk added on this server from the computer management console. So let's wait for a couple of seconds. So we will open the control panel, and okay, let's wait for the computer management console. Here we will go to the firewall and disable it to make sure that the firewall is not disabling or blocking the connection between the workstation and the server, or the workstation and the domain controller. So we'll disable the firewall completely and try again and see. So here it's not the best practice to disable the firewall on the workstation. So here we can see that there is a storage console on the computer management. Let's see also there is also disk management here, so this is the same as this one. So let's see if we can access the disk management. Okay, so here we can see that we have successfully accessed the newly added partition or the hard disk on this server. So here is telling us there is a new disk. This is the partition table, and we need to initialize it. So we tell him okay and initialize the hard disk, and we can then after that make a partition on it. Okay, so now we will do this and tell him right click and initialize. Okay, then okay. So here there is a problem that I have encountered. Here this is not the action that you take on the hard disk, okay, through the disk management console is not reflected immediately on the server. So you need to wait for a couple of times and then make a refresh, right click here and refresh, and if this doesn't work you need to close the console as a whole and open it back. Okay, so this is one of the things when you use the disk management console to connect remotely to a computer, okay, and manage the hard disk through it. So this is one of the things. So here you can see that it should be initialized, okay, but it's giving us an error. So what I will do now, I will go and access the Windows Admin Center and see if this hard disk is already initialized or not. Okay, so here I'm trying to initialize it a couple of times, but it doesn't work for some reason. I've discovered later that this should be this action should be refreshed, or you need to refresh the console. Okay, so now we will leave this console. Here we can see that we still have an error, we can't connect to disk management. So we'll remove it completely from the snapshot, and then we will use the Windows Admin Center to complete our configuration of the newly added hard disk. Okay, and you will see this is much more simpler through the Windows Admin Center. So we'll open the Windows Admin Center, and then we will see that we can access the newly added hard disk, and it is already initialized. So we have already initialized it from the disk management console, but it wasn't reflected there. But when you open the Windows Admin Center, it will appear as initialized. So here we can see that this is the Windows Admin Center. so it will take a little bit of time. By the way, I have added the server, the previous video I have added my domain controller here, but for some reason it wasn't saved. But in the upcoming videos, when I add it a couple of times, it will be saved, but it doesn't save directly, so you need to add it a couple of times, and then at the end it will be saved. So here we will tell him add a server, and we will add by name. So we tell him RACC01, this is the name of the domain controller. So I am adding a hard disk to the server just to show you all how we can manage hard disks remotely, and we can partition them and do a lot of things remotely using the Windows Admin Center and other tools. Okay, so here we will add the server, okay, and then we will open the Windows Admin Center and then the storage storage section to see the hard disk that we have added. So here we need to go down to the storage section. So it will take a little bit of time. Okay, this is a different data concerning the server. Here we can go to the storage, and then in the beginning it gives you an error that it can't connect to the server, but this error will disappear, and in a couple of seconds it will show you the hard disk. So don't worry about some errors. Maybe there is some errors concerning the remote connection between this workstation and the server, but it happens for a second and disappears. So let's wait for a moment and see. You can pause the video for a couple of seconds. Here we can see that it can't get, or it doesn't connect to the storage on this server, but if you wait for a second, we can see that we will able to browse the hard disks on this server. So wait for a second. So here we will pause the video again. Here we can see that we have two hard disks. This is the disk 0, which is 150 gigabyte. This is the one that we have already been working with, and this is the newly added hard disk, and it is healthy and it is online, so it is initialized already. So we have succeedingly initialized the hard disk from the disk management console. Okay, so we have done it, and now we need to partition it. So now we can select it and then tell him create volume. Okay, so we will do this. Okay, and here we can see it gives you the drive letter. Okay, so we'll choose E, and then we will give it a name, and then we will partition it as you name it data, partition and NTFS, and we will use the maximum space. So I am telling him to put all of the space in one volume. So you can tell him do not use the maximum size. If you don't select this option, you need to identify here how much space you need for this volume. If you need to use all the space for this hard disk for only one volume, you need to check this option. Okay, so tell him submit. So now it's drive E, submit, and then I need to do a couple of changing of the drive letters. So I need my CD-ROM to take to be the drive letter E, and I need my newly created partition to be D. Okay, so we will do this from the computer management console. So we will return back to the computer management console and see how we can do this. So now we have successfully created volume E. So we have created the volume. So let's go again to the computer management and then go to the storage. Okay, and then open. Here you can see that still we can't see any change here. We will tell him refresh, so it doesn't reflect anything, and then we will tell him to rescan disks. That's just to make sure that he can see the newly changes or the changes to the hard disk, it was already initialized and the volume was created, but the refresh doesn't make anything and the rescan doesn't make anything. The only thing that works is to remove the snapshot or to remove the console and add it back. So let me show you all how I have fixed this error. So here I will right click, okay, and tell him, so I need here to change the drive letter. Here I click on the properties to see that the device is working properly, but still I can't see the partition that I have created through the Windows Admin Center. So now what we will do, we will go and remove this console and add it back. So let's see if this will make us see the changes that we have done in the Windows Admin Center. So now we will go again and tell him File, Add Snap-in, and then we'll go to the computer management and then identify the computer that this console will work on is RACC01, and then finish. And then let's see if we can see the changes or if the changes is reflected. Just a moment. So let's see if the changes are done or it is reflected. Here we can see that everything is working. So here we can see disk 1 and we can see partition E, and this is the D. So when we tell him to change drive letter, tell him to remove this drive letter, which is the D, okay, or let's tell him to change and only give it, for example, F drive. So this will be F drive, okay, and okay, and yes, and then we will wait for a couple of seconds or tell him refresh. So we'll tell him right click and refresh. Here we can see that it is changed to drive F. Now we can go to my E partition and then we can see it is working. Right click the partition and then change that drive letter and tell him change, and then we'll make this partition as D. Okay, so this will be the D partition. Okay, I prefer this to be in order. So the C is the operating system, the D is the data volume, and E could be the DVD-ROM, okay, and F could be, for example, the flash or something. Here we can tell him to refresh. So this is D partition, and then change again the drive letters. I will make it as an E. So here we have everything in order, everything is prepared and everything is in order. We can see that everything is working, and we can use the disk management console to manage the partitions in a very easy way. So here we can see that we have successfully used both tools, Windows Admin Center and Disk Management Console, to manage our newly added hard disk. So now we need to begin working with creating different Active Directory objects on the domain controller. Okay, so here we will go to the domain controller, okay, D partition. This is, just a moment, let me show you all what I have done. By default, any partition or any PC or server that have joined in the domain, you as a domain admin can access it. How you can do this? By typing the name of the machine, then the partition that you need to access, and then a $sign. So for example, if you have 20 workstations, okay, and you need to access from one of these 20, you need to access its hard disk, a certain partition, simply you can click run and then type the name of the machine, then the partition, then a $sign, but you need to be the domain admin, because the domain admin is the only one that can access the partition remotely, and this is called hidden share. So by default, all of the partitions in all of the machines and servers that have joined the domain are secretly shared, and the only one that can access this secret share, he is the domain admin. And how he can access it? By typing the name of the machine slash the partition slash the partition, then $sign. So let's see how we can do this. Now we will type the name of the server, then slash D partition $sign. Why I'm doing this? To add or to put my scripts in this newly created partition, the one we have created now. So we will go and put our scripts there, so we can create different Active Directory objects. So this is the shared folder between my host and my virtual machine. So we'll go to the red alert, and then we will add, or we will copy this folder and put it in the D partition, not the D partition in my PAL, but for the D partition of the domain controller. Okay, so now we are copying it. So this is very easy way to access any partition in any machine in the domain. Okay, so take this note that every partition in every workstation, on every server that have joined the domain, it is secretly shared. Okay, and the only one that can access this secret share is the domain admin or the local administrator of the machine. So now we have the red alert created. So now we can go. I think I'll do another thing, I don't know what it is. Just we will type the D partition, okay, and then okay, just to make sure everything is working. And before that we will take a snapshot, or what I will do, I will delete the snapshot I have taken earlier and take another one to reflect my current configuration. So I will delete it and then take a snapshot from the POW and also from the domain controller. I will delete also the snapshot of the domain controller and create a new one. So just wait guys for a moment. So let's continue guys. Here we will take a snapshot, or I'll delete the old snapshot that I have taken in the beginning of the video. So I will delete this one and take a new one. Okay, before creating different Active Directory objects. So I am taking this snapshot mainly because I have added another hard disk and I have formatted it and partitioned it, so I don't need to do this from the start. So I am taking a snapshot here and there. Okay, so this workstation was paused, or this virtual machine was paused. So now let's open the POW workstation and open the Windows Admin Center and make a PowerShell session to the domain controller. So begin creating different Active Directory objects. By the way, you can access the PowerShell from the POW and create the Active Directory objects directly. So you don't need to go to the server and run a PowerShell session to the server. You can do this from any workstation that has joined the domain and has a PowerShell. Okay, so this is one. Let me now take a snapshot. Okay, here we type it before OU and then take snapshot. But why I am running a PowerShell through the Windows Admin Center to the server, just to show you all how I can remotely access the domain controller using the PowerShell. So here we will take, or we'll make another snapshot before OU. And then we can go to the POW and Control-Alt-Delete and then type the password. So now we need to open the Windows Admin Center. And then click on the domain controller and click on the option of PowerShell session. Okay, we'll pause the video and then I don't think what I'm doing here. Just a moment. Control-Alt-Delete and type the password, I think, for the administrator. Just a moment, I don't know what I am doing here, so I type the password, maybe not the password. I will type the password and then I will log off. So let's see how we can log off from this machine without having an interface. So this is the Windows Core, how we can log in from the Windows Core. Control Alt Delete and then sign out. So we can check the sign out, so we can sign out. This is simply how we can sign out of a Windows Core operating system. So here we'll go to the POW and then we go to the PowerShell section. Okay, here we go. This is the one. It will make, or it will connect or open a PowerShell session with the remotely to the domain controller. Okay, so now we have a PowerShell session to the domain controller. Let's see first, we need to adjust the scripts that we'll use to create different Active Directory objects. We will open the departition for the domain controller and open the folder that contain the scripts and edit a couple of lines in these scripts. Okay, so here this is the scripts folder and this is the file that contains all of the scripts. So I have discussed earlier in the introduction of the video that we will create all of our Active Directory objects using scripts. So basically the script, it is some commands that will go and read a file. Okay, this file contains the name of the Active Directory objects and its location, and it will begin creating them. So for example, this line will create the organizational units. So here I'm telling him to go and search for a file called ou structure.csv. This file contains the name of the organizational units and their location. So the script will run this, or the script will search for this file and read its data. Okay, its data is the Active Directory objects names and location, and then it will begin creating them one by one in the location that I have specified in the file. Okay, so this is the first one. We can see here that the folder of scripts here, or the location of this file that contain the organizational units names and location, the location of the file, it's not COVID-19 DC domain. We can see here that's LED alert COVID-19 okay DC domain. So we need to change the location of the file that will contain the organizational unit names and locations, and the same will be done for the groups, the same will be done for the computers, the same will be done for the users. So we need to change the location of them. Okay, so let's see now. Here we need to change the name of the folder. So the name of the folder, it's not COVID-19 DC domain scripts, but it is the red alert COVID-19 DC domain scripts. So here we will change it. Okay, so we'll change it. Okay, and this is the right one, and then we'll change it for all of the scripts. So all of these scripts, one for the organizational units, one for the groups, one for the group memberships, the membership of the groups, and one for the users and one for the computers. So now we are changing the location of the files. All of these files, or this as I said before, most of the PowerShell scripts will read a CSV file that contain the Active Directory object location and name. This object could be a user, a group, a computer. So let's see, we are now changing the location for each one of them. So another thing we need to take care, okay, that the PowerShell script or the PowerShell command doesn't recognize spaces. So for example, let's here show you all. Here the name of the folder is the red alert. Okay, when the PowerShell script read this folder name, okay, it will not recognize it as a folder. It will recognize the as a folder, read as a folder, alert as a folder. So he doesn't recognize the spaces as new folders. Okay, so what we will do, we will not have spaces between the name of the folder. If you need to create any or to do any PowerShell scripting, okay, and these scripts will involve folders, make sure that the folders doesn't have any spaces between them, or if you have spaces between the name of the folder, you need to put commas or put it in brackets. Okay, so I need just to take this as a note. So here we will rename it, and also I will show you all this will appear in one of the upcoming videos. I have some shared folders that these folders have spaces between their names, so I will show you all the error that will appear and how we can fix it. Anyway, so we'll go to scripts, and then we will again modify the location. Okay, so red alert. Okay, we'll change it. So let me show you all something here. Okay, if you have spaces between the folder, you can put it in brackets, so this the PowerShell can understand. So if you have a folder that contains spaces between each name, put it in commas. Okay, so this will allow the PowerShell script to read it in a correct way. But what if you didn't put brackets or commas? He will consider the as a folder, red as a folder, alert as a folder. So this is not correct. Okay, so what we'll do, as I said before, we can remove the spaces or put the folder name between brackets or between commas. Okay, so we'll do this. This is not correct, you need to have the D. Okay, and then this is the membership script that will put certain users in certain groups. Okay, so this is the one, and these two lines is to create the computer objects in certain organizational units. So now we will do this also. So now we have everything ready. We need to save the file, but remember we have changed the name, so he can't recognize the path. Okay, so we need to go and tell him save and choose the location of the folder, which will be not between spaces. So we'll type the name of the server, RACC01/D $, because it's a hidden share, and the red alert. Okay, and then the DC domain, and then scripts, and then this is our line. Okay, or our text file. So you will save it. Now we are ready to go to the PowerShell script and begin applying the different scripts that we need. Just wait for a moment, guys. So let's continue, guys. Here we will open a PowerShell session with the domain controller, and then we will begin applying every line of the script of these scripts one by one. But first we need to browse and get to the location of the folder that contain the scripts and the files that the script will read from. We have said that the script will read from a file or CSV files to create the different Active Directory objects and their names and their locations. So here we tell him dir, we are in a D partition, and dir here is the folder red alert, and then cd or change directory to the red alert, and then we need to have / and then tab. It will get the folder under the red alert. We get to COVID-19. So this is a way to get or read the folders automatically. So what you need to do, dir is to list everything in a folder or in a partition, and then if you need to browse something or to browse or to get into a folder, type cd then / and then tab. He will get you all of the folders and you can choose from. Okay, you don't need to type it. Okay, so we will do this. Here is the COVID-19. Yes, and press enter, and then we will tell him cd / and then DC domain, and then we'll tell him cd / scripts. Okay, then we will tell him dir. Here we can see this is all of the, or this is the script text file, and this is all of the CSV files that the script will read from. Okay, so let's now begin applying the first line in the script. This will create the different Active Directory organizational units, and these are the containers that will contain the Active Directory objects. So an organization unit, it is like a folder that will contain different Active Directory objects. So our organization unit can contain a user, a group, or a computer. Okay, so this is the first thing to create in the Active Directory, the containers. Okay, so the containers are named organizational units. Okay, and then after we create the organizational units, we will create the users, and then we will create the groups, and then we will put the certain users in certain groups, and last we will create the computers. So let's begin. We will copy and then paste and then press enter. So by the way, I have said that you can run these scripts in the PowerShell in the POW, so in the POW workstation, so you don't need to go remotely and open a PowerShell session with the domain controller. You can do this from the PowerShell within the POW workstation. Any workstation join the domain, you can run this script from it. Okay, but I am doing this to show you all how we can connect remotely using a PowerShell session to a remote server. So let's continue and press enter. Here it's loading the PowerShell module for the Active Directory. So these are a couple of commands that are imported or are inserted in the PowerShell. Okay, this PowerShell session to be able to execute the commands that I have written. So these commands are not by default added in the PowerShell, so it needs to import or to get the Active Directory commands and insert it in the PowerShell session so he can execute my commands. So here it will take a couple of seconds. Here is a couple of errors saying that there is already an object with this name. So I have a couple of organizational units that has the same name. So this is the error that says that you have already the same name. So maybe I have repeated the organizational units a couple of times with the same name. So this is a normal one. It will not create the same organizational unit or create an organizational unit with the same name or with the same name. Okay. So we need to go to the Active Directory and see if the organizational units are created. We will tell him right click and then refresh. Here we can see that there is the army and the things that I have showed you all in the beginning of the lab. These are the organizational units and the sub-organizational units. All of these are created. So here are the air base and different type of airplanes. Okay, so we need now to create the users, and this is a different script in a different folder. CD, now I'll change the directory, so I go to a certain folder. Okay, it's called import marvel. So the script that will do or will create the users are in the folder called import marvel. Okay, so I am change directory or going to the folder, and then I will run the script, okay, for creating users for the Active Directory. Okay, but first we need to edit the script because we need to change one important line, because the script, okay, just a moment, the script will read this CSV file to create, or it will read this file that contain the usernames, the password and their location. All this will be read and known from this CSV file. So in this script I am pointing to this CSV file so he can read it and get and create the users from this CSV file. So this is from a previous lab, so I need to change the location. I need to tell him that this CSV file in this folder. Okay, so let's see what I mean by this. We will edit the script. So here we can see that if you go to here, you can see that I am telling him that these DC users are in the COVID-19 domain import Marvel folder. This is not the correct location. It is the red alert COVID-19 domain import Marvel master. So we need to change the location so he can reach this file. I think it's playing, yes. So here we'll get the new location, which is the red alert COVID-19 DC domain import Marvel master folder. This is the location of DC users. Okay. Okay, we need to put D and then save. And then we will go and run the script. And here, as we can see, these are all the things that will be imported or created: the name of the user, the password for the user, and a lot of things. So we'll save it and then run it from the PowerShell command. Okay, so here we will type // and then tab. Okay, so list, this is the file that we need to execute. So it will give us a little bit of notification if the users are created. It will give us, so all of these are successful messages for notification, successful notification of creation of users. The user has been added to the domain. If there is any duplication, it will not be created. It will give us a notification saying that it is already there, or it's already created. We have 4,000 users, 4,432 users to be created. So we need to pause the video. So he has said that the user already exists. If we go to any one of these folders and go to the folder of users, which are army camps, we will see that there is a lot of users created there. So not this one, we need to go to the army camp. This is different sub folders or sub organizational units. Military groups, still we didn't create the groups yet. All of these are subfolders. Seaport, these are the different ship categories or ship types, and these are the different defense subfolders or sub-organizational units for the defense systems and the allies. Okay, and then we need to go to the army camp. This will contain the users, army camp. So here in the army camp we can see that the users are created successfully, the description, and we will check inside and see a couple of things. So here is the army camps. These are the users that are created. Okay, this is for the ally army and the Empire of the Sun. So we have paused the video until all of the users are created, and then we need to check to see if all of the attributes for the users are imported. We need to see if the manager field is filled and the employee number is filled or not. Okay, but before that we need, after creating the users, to create the groups. So this is the third line, to create the groups and then to put certain users in certain groups. This is the upcoming script, but this script, it will create different groups and it will give us notification when every group is created, a successful notification. So here we need to go to the folder of scripts again that contains the script lines. So here we'll tell him dire. Here back we are back to the script folder, and then we will tell him paste and then press enter. So here we can see these are all users or groups, sorry, created. It is created successfully. This is the green one, and then we will have this line to put group members or insert certain users in certain groups. Okay, and we will check later every group to see if any users are inserted in them or not. So let's press enter. It will take a couple of minutes because there are 4,000 users to be added to different or many groups. So as we can see, we have a PowerShell session, a remote PowerShell session to the server, and it is applying certain commands to this server remotely. Okay, so here if we have the last line, which is to create the computers. This is the last one that we will do, and then we will check everything. We will see the users, the groups, the computers. So this is the last line in the script, paste, and then we need to wait because there is a lot of things here. It says that certain computers are repeated, so he will not be able to create them another time. So the same as the organizational units, he can't create two organizational units with the same name and to create two computers with the same name. Okay, so we need to wait and see. I think we need to pause the video until the script ends. So we'll pause the video. Now it is finished. So we will disconnect our session, and then we will close we minimize the Windows Admin Center, and then let's check and see if everything is created by our script. So here we can see that different users are created, different groups are created. So you can see this, and we can see here that military army doesn't contain any groups. I have already created some groups here, but we need to make a refresh because not everything is reflected directly. So we need to tell him to refresh. Okay, and armies, and if we go to armies and then check the users, we need to see the different attributes of the users. I think we need to pause this real quickly again. So this is not we need. Okay, so we'll tell him refresh. No, we don't need this as all. Okay, so what happened? Just a moment. Refresh. So here in the army military we can see that there is some groups. You need to do something here to get the attribute of the users. You need to tell him view advanced setting. Okay, so we will see that now. If you go to any one of the users and see the manager tab and the employee number tab. Okay, so this is all of the groups. This is all of the groups. Okay, so everything is created. We need to check the setting or check the attribute of manager and global or employee number. So these are all different kind of airplanes. Okay, and if we get any one of them, we can see here is the computer, or this represents the plane. Okay, so this is the arm of facilities, are the tanks, and any one of these tanks subfolders contains a computer. So the tank is considered a computer, and this is the users. So if you click on any one of them and go to the organization tab, so this is the address. If you go to the organization tab here, you can see that the manager tab is not filled. So the script that we have created didn't succeed in filling the manager tab or the manager field. And we will see also how we can get the employee number tab and see it, or the attribute of the employee number. So the script didn't fill the manager tab. We will see how we can rectify this error. So here we don't have anything. So this is a problem in the script. I have put in the users the field of manager, and it's not filled by the script. So we need to see the employee. So we'll click view and then advanced features, so we can see the employee number attribute. So if we can go there, allies, then command center, and then army camps that contain the users, and then we need to get again one of the users and see the attribute tab. First of all, we have the manager field not filled, and then we go to the attribute tab and then check the employee ID or employee number. Doesn't contain anything, so the employee number and ID are not filled as well. So the script didn't succeed in filling the manager tab and the employee number or employee ID. We will see how we can rectify this error and insert managers in the manager tab and insert employee numbers in the employee number field. So we can go, I think we can pass this real quickly. So here what we can do, this is also not it. So okay, let's me continue. So here is the different computers, okay, in the defenses. So we can see that everything is created. Okay, so we need to do another thing, but let me first see something else. We need to check if any one of these groups contains any users, so we can check if the group membership script is applied correctly. So here is the Empire of the Sun organizational units, and this is the users also, and we will have the organizational unit. The manager field is not filled and the attribute as well. So what we will do, we will go and do something here. We will add the IT global group to 3 built-in groups in the Active Directory: the domain admin, the enterprise admin, and the scheme admin. Why I'm doing this? To have full control over the domain. So I will put my IT global Active Directory group. Okay, I will put my global IT group to 3 built-in groups, which are the domain admins, the enterprise admins, the scheme admins. So my IT group can have full control over the domain. Okay, so this is it. This is not the way. Let me show you all how we can do it. So what I have done, just a moment, again. So we'll go to the global IT group. This is the one that I need, and make it a member. Make this group a member of. Here we go. Of 3 built-in Active Directory groups: the domain admins, the enterprise admins, the scheme admins. So by putting my IT global group, Active Directory group, in these 3 built-in Active Directory groups, I have full control over the domain. Okay, and the forest as well. Okay, so he will put the domain admins. We'll check. We'll have domain admins, and then we will have enterprise admins. Okay, Then we'll have schema admins, and then OK, and administrators. So by this IT group, a member of these 4 groups, I have full control over the domain and every PC and server in the domain. Okay, so now we have everything ready. We can check the domain admins. If we see members, we can see that the IT group is a member of this group. Okay, so now basically we are ready to go to the next step, is to create the group policies and to create the Active Directory login scripts. Okay, and a couple of things. So I think just a moment, here is the groups. If you can check any one of these groups, we will see members. So here we can see that there is members of the ally captains. So that means that the group membership script has worked. So the script have added certain users to certain groups. Okay, so this is the members of these groups. So we can see that the script of group membership has worked. So the users are created, the groups are created, the computers are created. The IT group is a member of 4 most important built-in Active Directory groups. So now we can close it. I think we will take a snapshot maybe, but let me wait and see. So this is the global IT group. Here I will log in to the domain with my username. Okay, Karim Raouf. I will log in to this POW with my Active Directory username instead of the administrator, because we will close it later. I will log in with this username on this machine and on the server as well. So I have reset my password, and let's see if I can log in with my Active Directory account and see the privileges that I can do. Here I have full access, or have full domain rights. I am the domain admin now, exactly like the administrator. Okay, and I am also a local administrator on this machine. Okay, because by default the domain admin groups in the Active Directory, when any machine join the domain admin groups are inserted in the local administrators group in any machine in the domain and any server as well. Okay, so I have discussed this before. So let's tell him another user or other user and log in with my account, and then I will do a couple of things. I will prepare my desktop, so I need to move everything from administrator account, desktop of administrator, to my new account, so I can be able to access and manage everything from my account. So now it will have something here. We can pass it real quickly, and again let's wait here. So now I have everything I need to have to personalize my desktop. I need this computer and a couple of icons to be on the desktop, and to take some shortcuts from the administrator profile on this machine to my account. Let's see now. We will go to themes and then desktop icons, and then display computer, control panel, users, and network. All of this to be displayed on the desktop. And then we need to go to the profile of the administrator on this machine, the domain admin administrator. Okay, so we go to the C drive, users, and here is the profile of administrator, Windows profile of administrator. So I need to go to desktop of this administrator and copy all of the shortcuts and put it here. So let's wait how we can see or do this. Administrator, continue, so desktop, and these are all of the shortcuts, so I need to copy them all except of course this PC and maybe this PC and the file explorer maybe. So run all of this PC only, and the rest I will copy it. The control panel I will leave it, I have it already, so I will copy all of these shortcuts and put it here. Okay, and so here I am preparing my desktop. Okay, and then I will copy anything also from, copy a couple of folders from the shared folder between my host and my guest. So I will copy a couple of things here. So here I will set up the classic shell. Okay, you know classic shell, it is a program that will change the Windows 10 default start menu to a Windows 7 like start menu. Okay, this is a very famous program, so I need the Windows 10 start menu to be similar to the Windows 7 start menu. So we will go and set up the classic shell. Okay, because we have a group policy that will control this classic shell and we will use it later. So here we will accept the license agreement and then next, then next, and then install, and then him yes. Okay, and then tell him view or finish. So we see everything is in order, and we will pin some icons to the taskbar. So I am preparing my environment. Okay, so here we can see, can put the age, and here we can see this is the classic shell. And then I need, when I right click here, so you can see this is it. And let's see if I can log in with my Karim Raouf account on the domain or on the domain controller. So we can tell him Control Alt Delete and log in with another user. First of all, we'll take a snapshot. So we'll take snapshot after domain or after OU, and then take snapshot. So to be always to take snapshots, this is a recommended thing in a virtual environment, especially after dramatic changes to the operating system. Okay, so now we will take a snapshot, and then I will take a snapshot also from this workstation. So here first I am checking my hard disk space. So I'm saying all of my virtual machines in the D, so I have some space still. So I will take a snapshot also from this virtual machine. Okay, after OU, and then take snapshot. Okay, and then after that we will log off or change this or log off from this machine. First of all, I will do some setting here in the classic shell. So this is an option. I will change an option telling him that when I right click the icon here, so what is this option? When I right click, just wait for a moment. So when I right click, let me show you all the option again. So it is in the controls and then this option. So when I check this option, when I right click the Windows icon, I will get a certain menu I need. Okay, so this is, let me show you all what I mean by this. So when I right click, I got this menu. Okay, so this is it. I will shut down and take a snapshot. And by this I think our video has ended. The upcoming video will begin creating different group policies and a lot of things else. So let me see here. Here we will just power off the machine, and then I need to log in here. First of all, we'll put my password for the administrator, and let's see if I can log in with the Karim Raouf account here. So let's wait. Or I think I will not log in now. I will just shut down this machine, I will not shut down this virtual machine from the sconfig menu, but I will type shutdown /p. This is a command to type, or this is command to shut down the machine from a command prompt. Okay, not force. This is not the command. It is /p. Turn off the local machine with no time or warning. So we'll type shutdown /p. So you can tie or shut down the machine by this command, or from the sconfig menu, or from this icon here. Okay, /p. So it will shut down the machine. Okay, it will take some time. Okay, and now it is ended. Just power off. And this concludes the end of our video. So until the upcoming video, of this video is informative for you all, and I'd like to thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much.